Namaste. Uh, Today I am going to start with cell division. That is the first chapter, and it is one of the most important chapter because mostly the diagrammatic based question comes from this chapter. Now, what is cell division? First of all, you have to know what is cell. Cell is the structural and basic unit of life. That means each and every living organisms are made up of a very tiny compartment that is called as cell. Now the question comes, why the cell has to divide? You see that we all are made up of, human body has approximately around 37.2 trillion cells. That means average human being, the human being can be tall also, can be short also, but average it has been taken, the total number of cells in our body is 37.2 trillion. That means, how do these cells get formed? Are they once formed or they get formed from a single cell? Then the question comes, it gets formed from a single cell. So how do this one single cell gets formed into 37.2 trillion cells? Where do they get formed? Why do they get formed? We will be knowing in this chapter, that is called as cell division. So in the cell division, what are the content, what we will be learning about it? We'll be learning about how the cell divides, what is cell cycle, steps involved in cell division, then types of cell division and its significance. Besides that, we also have to know how do they divide, what is the process of cell to divide. So first of all, when we talk about cell division, then what is the definition of cell division? The cell which divides its number, the cell which divides its number, meaning a single cell turning into 37.2 trillion cells. Now in that, the another concept come across, cell cycle. So what is cell cycle? The various event that takes place in a cell to divide. The various events. Now what are the events? Various events will go on. Like here I have written some of the technical term called as interphase, then mitosis, then cytokinesis. Here in the interphase you have G1, S and G2. You need to understand, like this various event that is taking place for a cell to divide is called as cell cycle. Now, what do you mean by interphase? Interphase in between the phase. That means in between the cell to divide and the process of cell division, the cell needs to prepare for division. So before going that how the cell divides, we need to know some of the technical aspect, that what divides, what inside the cell happens. Like there are so many internal parts, Golgi bodies, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, all these parts are there. So actually what happens inside the cell? Then for that you need to have a clear concept about inside the cell there is a brain of the cell. This brain of the cell, or you call it as director of the cell. That means each and every management of the cell is done by the nucleus. This is the structure of the nucleus, and right from class 7 you must have seen this diagram. You have a circular or round spherical body. This is the nucleus. This is the director of the cell. This is the brain of the cell. Now in the brain of the cell, you will find a condensed structure. This condensed structure, you call it as chromosome. The word chromo means colored. A colored structure that is present inside the nucleus is called as chromosome. Now, let's try to know a few of its parts. You see nuclear membrane. The outermost covering of the nucleus is nuclear membrane. Inside the cytoplasm that is contained inside the material that is contained inside the nucleus, you call it as nucleoplasm. Then after that, highly condensed specialized proteins are present in it, that is called as nucleolus. Then there is a small entrance out here that is called as nuclear pore. Through here, there is a transmission of some of the character directly exchanged from the cytoplasm into the nucleoplasm. This is the cytoplasm, this is the nucleus. So whatever the material has to come in and out within the cytoplasm has to come through this nuclear pore. supported by the skeleton framework of the cell, that is endoplasmic reticulum. Then you have the ribosomes. Now this chromosome, when we talk about chromosome, what is chromosome made up of? Then you see chromosome is made up of 40% DNA and 60% specialized protein that is called as histones. So what are histones? Histones are called as specialized protein. So what is the full form of DNA? DNA means deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid. 40% is DNA, 60% is histone that makes up the chromosome, a colored structure condensed inside the nucleus. What is the work of this chromosome then? The chromosome, it carries the hereditary material. So when I say hereditary material, the character of any living organism. In this earth, it is estimated that 30 million species are there. All these 30 million species have their own type of chromosome number. Like take for example, human being chromosome number is 46. All living organism, they have their own set of chromosome. Human beings are known by how many chromosome? 46 number of chromosome. So the character of a human being, you look like a human being, you look like a ape, other organisms are different in one aspect, that is due to the set of chromosome that they exhibit. So where it is inside this chromosome determines it. Now, having understood what is the nucleus, this nucleus undergoes various changes during the cell division. So before to that, now this chromosome, how do they look like? Now there are few technical aspects, like you see a condensed structure present inside the nucleus is a chromosome. Now this when becomes a thin thread-like structure, then you use the term called as chromatin. Slowly what happens, the material gets added in the chromatin material, then you use the term called as chromatid. Chromatid. When it becomes condensed, short, thick, then you call it as chromatid. When it is thin, then you call it as chromatin. When it is condensed, invisible state, lumpy type, then you call it as chromosome. Now, if you try to see chemically, then you see that here I have drawn a double helical structure of this DNA. This DNA, chemically you will come across that this is the pentose sugar, then phosphate, then base held by a weak hydrogen bond. So this is the chemical structure of a molecular structure of DNA. Now let's come back to the another point. What are the steps involved in cell division? How? That means what are the steps? Then first of all, replication of DNA. What do you mean by replica? First of all, the word replica means a duplicate copy. That means whose duplicate copy? Then you see that chromatid structure. This chromatin and chromatid structure will have its duplicate copy. So this duplicate copy, when it will get formed, all this formation of duplicate copy and all happens in this interphase, happens in different phases of mitosis. We'll come to know later on. Then after that, followed by karyokinesis. The word you see karyo means nucleus division. The word karyo means nucleus. Nucleus, kinesis means division, nucleus division. So it is nothing but it is a nucleus division, karyokinesis. Then after that, cytokinesis. Cyto means cytoplasm. Cytoplasm. So which part is cytoplasm? Suppose if I take a cell, nucleus division, inside there is a peculiar changes in the structure of the chromosome, chromatin. Then after that, this cytoplasmic division, that means there is a division of cytoplasm. Now, next, what are the types of cell division? Then types of cell division includes mitosis and meiosis. Mitosis, what is mitosis? If you see this word mito, then mito means thread. The word mito means thread. So what is thread referred to here out here? Thread is referred to, which one is thread out here? The thread refers to chromatin. That means it is the chromosome. We are talking about the chromosome, we are talking about the chromatid, we are talking about the chromatin fiber. That means mitosis out here means there will be some peculiar changes in the thread-like structure, that is in the chromatin. Now, where do this mitosis takes place? The question comes, where do this mitosis takes place? Mitosis takes place in a vegetative cell, in a somatic cells. That means whichever brings the growth in our body, whichever the part of our body grow. Each and every organ, each and every structure of our body, they require growth. So the growth of a living organism is determined by the mitosis. So where does it take place? It takes place in the somatic cells, it takes place in the vegetative cells. Now next comes meiosis. Now where does this meiosis takes place? Meiosis is a reductional division. Okay, meiosis takes place in the germ cell, it takes place in the reproductive cell. And when I say reproductive cell, then you have to understand reproductive cell, suppose say if I talk about in the plant, then the male part, this is the sign of male and this is the sign of female. So in plant, the male part, that is the anther, and in the female, ovule. This is the reproductive cells of a plant. If I take in terms of animal, then the reproductive cell includes the sperm and the ova. So meiosis takes place in the reproductive cells, and when I say reproductive cells, in the plant it is the pollen grain, it is the anther, and in the female part, that is the ovule. If it is in the animal, meiosis takes place in the sperm and meiosis takes place in the ova. So that means two types of cell division are there, mitosis and meiosis. Now, today we will be focusing only on mitosis, like how mitosis takes place. But before to that, why mitosis has to take place? Why cell division has to take place? Then you will come across significance of mitosis. Significance of mitosis, what is the advantage of mitosis, what is the importance of mitosis. Then you see, first of all comes the growth. All living organisms grow. You see that when you are born, you are just a baby. Okay, then slowly you see that you grow in size, you increase your biomass. All that increase in the living organism is nothing but it is due to mitotic division. Next thing, repair. When we talk about repair, then you see that sometimes you see your you have your wound, the wound gets healed. We have number of injuries, the injuries gets healed within a short period of time. We never put glue or something like that and it gets healed. Obviously we put some of the bandage and all, and after that you will find there is no mark of the cut. The cut gets healed. How does that healing take place? It is simply a mitotic division. So it is for the growth and repair. Next thing, it maintains the stability of a living organism. Chromosome number is restored. You see that the new cells are formed. When the new cells are formed, what the original cell had the chromosome number, the same chromosome number will be formed in the next part of the cell, and you call the new formed cell, you call it as daughter cell. Okay, like say for example, here I will show you one. This is the cell. When the cell will divide, it forms two cells. This is the mother cell and then this is the daughter cell. So if this chromosome number is 46, this also will have 46 number of chromosome. This will also have 46 number of chromosome. They are identical to each other. In mitosis, the division is more or less equational in nature. That means one cell will form two cells. Again, this cell will further go and divide, and it will form again two cells. This will be also 46, this will be also 46. This cell will divide, again 46, again 46. So this way it keeps on dividing. Furthermore, you see that when in our body, when I have written out here, we all have average number, how much? 37.2 trillion cells. The cell divides in this manner. From 1, it became 2. From 2, it became as 1, 2, 3, 4. So it goes under binary division. 1, then 2. Again this 1, then 2. This way altogether, how many cells you had? 4 number of cells, and each of the cell has the same number of chromosome number. This is mitotic division. It is also called as equational division. Why equational division? Because here you see every cell is dividing and the number is increasing. Till where, to what extent it will increase? It will increase to which the living organism essence, the essence is biomass. Now come to the next part, that is before going to the process of mitosis, let's come to one of the technical term that is called as early and late. Early, when the process is about to begin, then you call it as early. When the process or the event is about to get over, then you use the term called as late. This is not so necessary as per the syllabus, but in some of the book, early prophase, late prophase may be mentioned, so you may get confused. So when the event, when the process is about to begin, then you call it as early. When it is about to get over, then you use the term called as late. So what are the process of this mitosis? Then first of all comes interphase. Now what is interphase? When the cell is preparing to divide. Okay, when the cell is preparing to divide, the stage at which the cell is preparing to divide, the preparatory stage, interphase you call it as preparatory, just the beginning, when it is trying to prepare for cell division, that phase you call it as interphase. Now in interphase, what will be the peculiar characteristic of the cell? Here you will come across that it has a cell membrane. Then you see centrosome. Centrosome initiates cell division. Centrosome is covered by some of the ray-like structure. This ray-like structure you call it as asters. Okay, you call it as asters. I will take a bigger diagram out here. The internal part is called as centriole. This whole part is centrosome. Then you have a ray coming out in this manner. Whole this ray-like structure are called as asters. Individual part you call it as astral ray. Single filament you call it as astral ray. Now there will be also some peculiar changes in this structure of this centrosome. So here you see just in the lying at the center of the cell, that is why it is called as centrosome. Then after that, you see the nucleus, then you see a thin filament-like structure, that is the chromatid. When you find a thin filament-like structure in the diagram, then you have to understand it is which phase? It is interphase. Interphase, that means it is the time when the cell is preparing to divide. So here, interphase is followed by G1, S and G2. G1 means first growth phase. That means the cell, when it is preparing to divide, it will start accumulating the material from the cytoplasm, from the endoplasmic reticulum, and necessary chemical required for the cell to divide. Like say for example, when we cook anything, first of all we need to prepare it. We have to arrange it. That means you have to understand arranging is done in G1. So here when I say arranging is done in G1, then what type of arrangement are done? Then necessary protein required for the cell to divide gets accumulated inside, and due to that the volume of the cell becomes bigger. The volume of the size of the cell increases. Next one is synthetic. S stands for synthesis. The synthesis, the word synthesis means to make. Now after accumulating the material, like say you have collected all the material in a kitchen, now what you will do? Now you will start making it. Okay, so when in the cell also, when it will start making it, what does it make? When I say synthesis, then what type of synthesis? Then you will come across RNA, the necessary chemical messenger, you can call it. And you see that when I say chemical messenger, like take for example messenger RNA, transfer RNA, ribosomal RNA. Okay, these are some of the material that gets formed during the synthesis period. Then in G2, second growth phase, now the cell is likely to divide. So here you will come across in a book, you will come across peculiar type of technical aspect has been given. Like take for example, RNA and protein necessary for cell division are synthesized and the cell is ready to start the cell division. And it is the, if you compare G1 and G2, G1 is the longer growth phase, G2 is the shorter one. So when the differentiate between G1 and G2 will come, then you have to write G1 is the longest part of it and G2 is the shortest part of it. After the G2 gets over, okay, when now the cell is ready for the preparation to divide, the second part comes the mitosis. That is not the mitosis. We have to talk about karyokinesis. So here replication of, when I say replication of DNA, all the replication of DNA happen in G1, S and G2. Then comes the what? Karyokinesis. So here karyokinesis, you see in mitosis what type of changes do you see in the chromosome? Then you will find that there is a peculiar changes in the structure of the chromosome. So first one that we begin, interphase is the preparatory phase. Now the part of the mitosis that comes is, the first one is the prophase. How do you come to know that it is a prophase? Then you see I have written out here pro means first. Prophase means it is the first phase. So in the first phase, what changes you are going to see in the structure of the chromosome? Then you will come across here, you see the chromatin, that means thin thread-like structure is the chromatin. This thin thread-like structure will become thick. So when it is thick, then it is visible. When it is thin, it is invisible. So interphase and prophase. Interphase, chromosomes are invisible. You can write one character. Prophase, when you write, the chromatids are short. Obviously you say when it is thin, it is long. Then when it becomes thick, then it becomes short. So simple thing, when it is long, then when it is long in the interphase, it is thin. So automatically in the prophase, when it becomes short, it becomes thick. Then next, what also peculiar type of changes you will see, here you see nucleolus I have written out here. In this diagram, what you will find, you will see the nucleolus is seen, but it is not as compared to interphase. Slightly you will find that this will slowly it will disappear. It will go to the late prophase. So what is the difference between early and the late? When it has just stepped from interphase to prophase, then that is the early prophase. When it is about to get over, then you call it as late prophase. So how will you mark? Here you see this nuclear membrane I have shown out here. This is fully circular. Whereas here you see I have shown dotted. So you, sometimes what will happen in the diagram, you have to be very careful. When the line is in a very good thin line, not dotted line, then it is early prophase. When you find a dotted line out here, the nuclear membrane disappearing, then it is late prophase. And here you will find that chromatids are short and thick, and they are very much dispersed in the nucleoplasm. They are dispersed inside the nucleoplasm. So you have to consider this middle part as nucleus. Now, here you have to understand, when I take a spherical body, either you take it as pole, North Pole, South Pole, this as the equator. Here I have taken this side as pole, this side as pole. So obviously this will be the equator. So this is the imaginary line. So here there will be a peculiar arrangement in the structure of the nucleolus, and as well as the chromatin structure. So like here, according to your book, what are the characteristics? Okay, prophase, what technical term you have to understand? Short and thick. Then after that you will come across spindle fiber. Here you see, at the first centrosome is here. Here the centrosome has just started beginning to divide. Even the centrosome also starts dividing it. And when they are dividing, they are pulled apart towards the pole. So by this also you can understand that it is a early prophase. Next part. Now here you see, from this centrosome, whichever I have written astral ray, asters which I have written, due to this astral ray, what will get formed? A spindle fiber will get formed. So what is spindle fiber? A imaginary pathway, a pathway for the chromatid. The chromatids are held together at the spindle fibers. They are dragged. And if you try to take the spindle fiber, there are microtubules. Okay, there are small tube-like structure. Small tube like this structure. So suppose, say for example, if the tubular structure, if this tubular structure, suppose one end to another end. Suppose here you see, these are the microtubule that forms the spindle fiber. If they become short, according to that, you will find a peculiar changes in the structure of this chromosome. Sometimes what will happen? Now one arm will be big, one arm will be short, another one will be V-shaped, I-shaped, according to that. Suppose, say for example, if you tie ribbon in my hand, and if one is pulling this side, what will happen? This will be short, this will be long. If they pull equally, then this will be. So according to that, the chromatids arm becomes shorter, longer, and according to that, they are pulled towards the pole. So the pulling towards the pole is nothing but the spindle fiber increasing and decreasing. So when the spindle fiber increases and decreases, there is a peculiar changes in the structure of the chromatid. And when I say chromatid, I am talking about chromatin, I am talking about chromosome, a thin filament. Now, next part. This is late prophase. After late prophase, that means when this is about to get over, then what will happen? You will come across that this chromatid structure in the equator. Now you see out here, this is the equator. All the centromere, they lie at the center. All the chromatids are at the center. And here the term is metaphase. Meta means middle, or just after the just after the the word meta means after prophase. So they line up in the equator. It is very easy to identify when the chromatids are at the center. That means at the equator, you have to consider that it is metaphase. Then, after metaphase, then you have anaphase. That means when the metaphase gets over, then what is going to happen? You will come across these chromatids, they separate. Now you see, these chromatids, which was held together like this, which was held together by a centromere, the centromere also splits. Each chromatids are held at a point that is at the centromere. So the centromere also splits, and this divides into two. So here, now what do you have to understand? Centromere at the center was metaphase. Here what do you see? Centromere is directing towards the pole. This side is pole, this side is also pole. Here there is a gap in between. Chromatids are towards the center. That means the chromatids are now lying to the equatorial plane, and centromere is directing towards the pole. So whenever you come across this type of diagram, then you have to understand early anaphase. That means after metaphase, anaphase. The very word ana means back. Now they are going back. Where they are going back? Back means back to the pole. After anaphase, now after the anaphase, the another phase comes across, that is called as telo. Telo means, here I have written out here, telo means end. That means it is the end of karyokinesis. Nucleus division is about to get over. So when it is about to get over, what will happen? The cell membrane, there will be some type of constriction in the middle. and this is about to reach to the pole. So when it is about to reach to the pole, you can also add one term that is called as late anaphase. Late anaphase, simply if you write anaphase also no problem, but in some book if you find that anaphase is written, late anaphase is written, meaning it is about to get over. So here you can see they are far away from the equator. By this diagram you come to know that it is a late anaphase. What is the peculiar characteristic of this phase? That chromatids are reaching to the pole. Now, and a constriction is seen in the middle, and further deepening or furrow type of structure gets formed. And this is also one of the identification that it is which type of cell. How will you also come to know that it is an animal cell. Why animal cell? Because only cell membrane is there. In plant cell, there is a quite changes. Here there will be a quite changes. We'll discuss it in some other classes, but here late anaphase, constriction, furrow-like structure getting formed, and finally after the telophase, the next phase when it is over, then you will find further constriction takes place. 8-like structure gets formed. This is like a 8. This gets separated and this gets separated. The cell divides in the manner of 2. After this part you call it as cytokinesis. Now the word cyto means cytoplasmic division. The cytoplasm has got divided. When this cytoplasm has got divided, this becomes a daughter cell, this becomes a 2 daughter cell. So from one cell we got how many cell? We got 2 cell, that is 2 daughter cell. So here you see in the diagram 46 number of chromosome has restored. It has divided into 2. This cell got divided into 2. But how they got divided? They got divided due to this number of process that is called as mitosis. And again, just to tell you that when I say mitosis, steps involved in cell division: replica of DNA duplicate copy gets formed, nucleus division takes place, and in the nucleus division you have prophase, metaphase, anaphase and telophase. And after this karyokinesis gets over, then comes the cytoplasmic division. With this the cell divides into 2 daughter cells. So from 1 to 2, and similarly you see that total in our body we have average around 37.2 trillion cells getting formed. Thank you.
Hello, my dear students. I am S.R. Hassan, a teacher from St. Augustine's, Kalimpong. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer and the KTV for providing me the opportunity to teach online to my very, very dear students. Hope the class will help you not only in but in the regions around it. So I am going to teach you physics. As you know that physics is of 100 marks into theory and practical parts. Theory is 80 marks and practical 20 marks. The theory paper is divided into 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. Part 1 is compulsory, carrying 40 marks, 20 questions, each of 2 marks, and the part 2 contains optional questions. 4 you have to choose out of 6. So altogether 40 plus 40, 80 marks paper. So without wasting much time, so I would like to start the first chapter of your syllabus, that is force and torque. In the lower classes you must have heard what is force and what is the formula of force. The formula of force, F equal to ma, you have last year you had learnt it. And what will be the effect of force on a body. So we can have two type of bodies, rigid and non-rigid body. So let us see effects of force. Effects of force on a rigid body. The force can cause two effects on a rigid body. Rigid body means hard body, whose shape and size does not change when we apply the force on it. So on a rigid body, when we apply force, it can cause two type of motion. Translational motion, that means a straight line motion, and the second effect can be rotational or rotatory motion. When can it cause translational motion on a body? When the body is unpivoted, when the body is not hinged, not pivoted, not clamped, not tied. Whereas when a body is clamped or the tied, it causes turning effect. When a body is, suppose let us take a body here and it is pivoted here. Pivoted means clamped or tied over here. At any point we can tie it. And we apply a force on it. We may apply a force like this on it. Then in this case, the body will be having turning effect and the body starts turning. So about this effect only mainly we have to learn in class 10 level. Class 9 you have learned about the translational motion formula. F equal to ma, then all those formulas, v is equal to u plus at, s is equal to ut plus half at square, all those formulas, those you have done in class 9 level. So now in class 10 mainly you have to focus on rotational or rotatory motion. Whereas the effect of force on a non-rigid body, we can see change of shape, we can see change in dimension, we can see change in structure. This could be the effect of force on a non-rigid body. We have to, once in ICC they had asked this question, give two effects of force on a rigid body and a non-rigid body. So we can easily give. Probably that question is not going to come now because that is not in syllabus right now, that is in no class 9 syllabus. So we will mainly focus upon the rotational effect of force, or when a body is pivoted, this case only we will mainly deal with. So my dear students, the first topic as per your ICC syllabus is moment of force. So let us see what is moment of force. Moment of force, which is also called torque. This question came this year in ICC 2020. What is moment of force? We say the turning effect of force is called moment of force, the turning effect. And it is measured by the product of force and the perpendicular distance between the line of action of the force from the axis of rotation. You can understand from this diagram. Let us have a body and is pivoted here at a particular point. Let us suppose the name of the point is O, and we are applying a force here like this to produce turning effect on it. This is the line of action of force. If a force is acting like this, the line of action of force will continue like this way, in the same line. So here is the line of action of force, here is the pivoted point. Pivoted point means the point where the body is clamped or the body is tied. So I have shown it over here. Suppose something you are having over here and are tying over here like this. So this part is hinged or clamped. So this point is called pivoted point, or we can call it fulcrum also. There is another term called fulcrum. So perpendicular distance of the line of action of force from the axis of rotation. Suppose this is the axis of rotation. So this distance I take as d. So moment of force formula we can write like this. Moment of force, in short we can write MOF equal to F into perpendicular distance. This is the formula of moment of force. It is measured in this manner. Actually it is turning effect of force, but it is measured by the product. That's what I told you, the definitions. So you can write down the definitions may be important. That the product of force and the perpendicular distance of the line of action of force from the point of rotation or from the axis of rotation, you can say this distance is perpendicular distance you have to take. That is F into perpendicular distance is called moment of force, or we can call it torque as well. So it's SI unit of SI unit. It's SI unit. You can check from the equation what can be the SI unit. Force SI unit is Newton and distance SI unit is meter. So ultimately it works out to be Newton meter. Its SI unit is Newton meter. Whereas the CGS unit is concerned, CGS unit is equal to, in CGS unit force is measured in terms of dynes. So force we will write here dyne, and distance is measured in centimeters. So product means multiplication actually. So we can write dyne centimeter. So CGS unit of moment of force or the torque is dyne centimeter, whereas the SI unit is Newton meter. Let us find a relationship between the SI unit and the CGS unit of moment of force or the torque. Let us take it this way. Moment of force 1 Newton meter equal to, let us convert Newton in terms of dyne. 1 Newton makes how much dyne? I think you learned in class 9. So you should be knowing it very well. So 1 Newton is 10 to the power of 5 dyne. Multiply by 1 meter will convert in centimeter. So 1 meter makes how much centimeters? So 100 centimeters, as simple as that, 100 centimeters. So 10 to the power of 5 and 10 to the power of 2, that means 100. Altogether it becomes 10 to the power of 7 dyne centimeter. So this is the value. 1 Newton meter is equal to 10 to the power of 7 dyne centimeter. This question had come this year in 2020. Very first question of your physics paper was define moment of force and write down the relationship between the SI unit and the CGS unit. Just writing means just to show this, just write all this equation. You may not show all this working how it comes. So directly you can write 1 Newton meter is equal to 10 to the power of 7 dyne centimeter straight away. So hope the definition is clear. And when is the turning effect in the body taking place? When we have a body pivoted and we apply a force generally perpendicular to it, then it produces turning effect. And how do we measure it? So by the equation F into perpendicular distance. The distance has to be perpendicular from the point of rotation or from the axis of rotation. So moment of force is a vector quantity. This is also important aspect. Quantity. Moment of force is a vector quantity. That means it has direction as well. Class 9 you learned scalars and vectors. Scalars are those which has only magnitude but no direction, whereas vector has got both magnitude and direction. So it has direction as well. So but turning effect can take place either clockwise or anti-clockwise. So when turning effect takes place anti-clockwise, it is given or it is assigned a positive sign, and when it is in clockwise direction, clockwise means in the direction of the clock, normal clock, like this. Anti-clock means this way. So clockwise moment of force or the torque is taken negative. So this is the sign convention we follow for the moment of force, positive and negative sign. Once in ICC they had given this question. Wheel of a car is moving in anti-clock direction. What will be the sign of its moment of force? Simply you can say positive. When it will move in the clockwise direction, simply you can say it is negative. So as simple as that. So you can just take some cases. Suppose we are having a body out here, and here is the pivoted point. That means you can call it fulcrum as well, or I'll just denote it by O, the point. And here we are applying a force of say 10 Newton. And the perpendicular distance available is 2 meter. So what is the moment of force? Moment of this force acting on the body, MOF. Moment of force value will be simply F into D, simple multiply. That means 10 into 2, direct multiply. So 20 Newton meter. Now we have to assign a sign for it, this moment of force, whether it will be positive or it will be negative. We'll see the case and accordingly we'll decide. You can just think this way. Here is the pivoted point. You can take this one over here like this. Here is the pivoted point, here is the hinge, and we are giving a force this way. So what direction does it turn? So it turns like this. So what direction do you call it? It is turning in this direction here. You can also have a look at it like this. It is turning. So what direction does it turn? Clockwise or anti-clockwise? So I am sure it is turning in anti-clock direction here. So we will be giving a positive sign. Either you write positive sign, or you can write, instead of that, you can even write under bracket anti-clockwise. In short, I am writing ACW. Anti-clockwise we can write. On the other hand, if the force is acting in this manner here, in the same diagram, the force is acting like this, the value will be same 10 into 2. So answer is same 20 Newton meter, but the direction will be different. What direction does it turn? No, you can just hold it like this way, and you are giving a force in this direction. So it is turning like this. So it is now, in this case, it will be turning in this manner. That means clockwise. And the clockwise torque is assigned negative sign. So we will be putting a minus sign over here. So the same value, but the sign will change now in this case. We will put a minus sign, either minus sign, or we can write under bracket clockwise. If we write minus sign, a clockwise, well and good. Otherwise, at least one we must write, either minus sign or if you don't write the minus sign, but you are writing clockwise, okay, it's acceptable. You will get marks for it, so no problem with it. So this is how we calculate the moment of force. Sometimes they ask you to calculate the resultant of moment of forces. Resultant means there are many forces acting at the same time, and they are producing rotation in the body, and you are calculating the total moment of force. So just a case I am taking, you can just have a look at it and then calculate. Let us take a body, and here is the pivoted point. This point we can have on a knife edge like this, something pointed over here, we can put it over here like this, and we are giving different kind of forces. Suppose here we are giving a force F1 is equal to 10 Newton. This distance is suppose given 2 meter. Another one is given over here F2 3 Newton, and this distance is 1 meter, and we are having a force over here F3 4 Newton, and this distance is 2.5 meter. Like this is given, and they are asking find the resultant moment of all the forces acting on the body as shown in figure. So how to calculate? It's quite simple. So we will be directly doing out writing like this: resultant moment of force equal to. We can proceed one by one in order. Like first we will find the moment for the force F1, then we will find for the F2, then we will find for F3. Resultant moment of force F1 will be directly, we can do here 10 into the perpendicular distance we will take, that is 2. We will take 2 and we will think about the sign. What sign it should have, positive or negative, we will think about it. Here is the pivoted point, something pivoted is, this is clamped over here and giving a force like this in downward direction this way. So it is going to turn it in this direction. That means it's going to turn in the clockwise direction. So put a minus sign for it. Then continue for out here, right, plus, look at this. 3 into, I'll take the perpendicular distance from the pivoted point or from the point of rotation or from the axis of rotation. So 3 into the total distance from here till here. How much is the distance available? We can just check on 2 meter plus 1 meter further. The total distance becomes 3. And what sign should it have? So you can see here is the pivoted point and you are giving a force in the upward direction. It is going to turn like this. This way it is going to turn. You can simply have a look at it. You are giving a force in this direction. So it is going to turn like this. That means anti-clockwise direction. So put a plus sign. You can put a plus sign within bracket or maybe outside. Then coming to F3. F3 will be 4 into the distance is 2.5. What should be the sign for this? Again, here is the pivoted point and you are giving a force in the downward direction here like this. This way, something is, then it will be tilting like this. It is turning like this. That means anti-clockwise direction. So that means positive sign. Now we can calculate the answer. Now this is coming minus 20. This is coming 9. This is coming 10. The final answer is 10 plus 9, 19. Total answer is coming 1 minus 1. Newton meter. Unit will give, we can write under bracket, since the overall sign is coming minus, that means the body or the rod, whatever thing we have taken over here is going to turn in the clockwise direction because minus sign is there. Clockwise. We can just mention clockwise there. Or you can write even in short, CW we can write for it. So minus, this is how we calculate the resultant means the total moment of force. When there are more than one forces acting on a body and producing rotation in it. Or question even may come, in what direction does the rod tilt? We can say the rod will tilt in the direction of clockwise. Or its value is minus 1 Newton meter. This is how we calculate. This is quite simple. This way we calculate the moment of forces. And one important thing over here to be seen, the formula of moment of force is, the formula of moment of force is F into D. If you have a look at it, you will find that force and perpendicular distance, they are inversely proportional to one another. What is the meaning of inversely proportional? Students, the meaning of inversely proportional means if one quantity decreases, then other quantity increases. The reverse will happen. That means this, how do we know it is directly proportional, inversely proportional? The moment of force keeps same, distance will come down, then you can write like this. This same equation we can write in this. Means this one inversely proportional. When this one is increasing, then this one should be decreasing. So this is quite an important principle we apply in our daily lives. So in order to produce turning effect, when we go for maximum distance, when the distance is maximum, then the force requirement will become minimum. It is as simple as that. You want to turn something, now we go for a maximum distance. You must have seen a door. Let us have a door over here, and here is the hinge. Hinge is here, hinge is fixed over here, and here is the handle with the help of which we open and close the door. So where do we place the handle in the door? We place the handle at the edge of the door. Why not at the middle or somewhere closer or somewhere else? We always try to place it at the edge of the door. The reason is we are going for the maximum distance from the axis of rotation. D we are going for maximum. When the D is maximum, the force required to produce the certain turning effect becomes minimum. That means the effort of turning effect will become minimum. So the same principle is used in wrenches and all. To open a nut, we go for longer wrench. Longer wrench is much easier to open a nut and all, because when the distance is large, the force becomes minimum, as simple as that. Even that jack, you must have seen a jack for lifting a car when it gets punctured and all, to change the tire. Jack is provided with a long handle. Longer the handle, lesser the effort required. That is, idea is same only. So this recent tax questions been coming very frequently in ICC. One year they had asked why handle is placed at the edge of the door. Similar question they had given, why jack is provided with a long handle. Wrenches, spanners, screwdrivers and also they are provided with a long handle, because the long handle makes the effort minimum in order to produce turning effect, because we are going for the maximum distance. When the distance is maximum, the force requirement becomes minimum. It is very simple principle. So hope you understood this part, boys. Now we are into the another aspect. It is called couple. What is a couple? Couple means pair, as it tells, as it simply tells you that couple means a pair. A pair of equal and opposite forces producing rotation in a body about the midpoint of the line joining them is called couple. Suppose the midpoint of the body is somewhere here. The body starts turning about the midpoint of the body, like this. You are giving two forces. The forces values are same. Suppose this force value is 10 Newton. This force also will have to be same value, 10 Newton only. A pair of equal and opposite forces not acting at the same point, or their line of action is not the same, will produce rotation in the body, which is called a couple. How to find the moment of couple? So we have a formula for it, right? Moment of force due to a couple. Due to a couple equal to, we'll take the total distance between them as d. Total distance. Perpendicular distance between the two forces is taken as d. Then we can write the formula. This will directly be same, right? Formula becomes like this: either of the forces into perpendicular distance between them. That means we can write like this: F into perpendicular distance between them, or we can write F force into couple arm directly. So this could be the formula for moment of force due to a couple. A couple produces rotation about the midpoint of the body. Body starts turning about the midpoint. So in some cases we find where the fulcrum is situated in the center, in the middle. So there we go for couple. And why we have this formula? If you want to learn the logic behind, so probably logic will not come in ICC. At least in ICC it is not going to come, but we just learn it. This one is suppose d. The half distance will become actually d by 2. Here also will be d by 2, half, because this is the midpoint. So we can find that total moment, though the formula I have shown, but I'll just show the derivation of this formula, why it happens like this. Moment of force due to a couple will be equal to, let us consider this one first, right? F into this distance from the point of rotation, that is d by 2. Here also I write here, same direction is moving, so it's turning in what direction you can check out, is anti-clockwise. Here also anti-clockwise. So I will be writing once again f into d by 2. Taking f common, you get d by 2 plus d by 2. That means half d plus half d will become d only, or otherwise you can take LCM 2, it will become 2d, 2 cancels, the answer becomes f into d. Actually the formula comes like this, but this derivation you may not need to learn. Just learn the moment of force due to a couple formula will be directly one of the force, don't take both of the forces, only one of the forces into the distance between the two forces you take, perpendicular distance between the two forces. So that will serve the purpose. So moment of force due to couple formula is F into D. We have many examples of turning effect of force or couple in our daily lives. For example, turning a tap, we use both the fingers. So one finger we press and the other finger we press in the opposite direction here. You can just have a look. Then you are giving the two forces equal in value but opposite in direction. Even to the steering wheel of a car, like this, you use both the hands, and at the center you have the rod or the pivot or the axis of rotation. So you are using both the hands and turning it using both hands, giving the forces in opposite. One force you are giving like this, another force you are giving this way. So you are going for a couple. Even the bike's handle and all, so you are using both the hands and turning it using the principle of a couple. So many examples we have in our daily lives where we go for a couple. So I remember one year in ICC they had given this question. They had given the diagram like this, and they wrote f value 5 values exactly I don't remember, this is an example only I am giving. So and the total distance was given 2 meter, and here was the point of rotation O, that pivoted point O was shown, and they were asking the question of find the moment of forces shown in the following diagram. So directly you can write here moment, or you can identify the forces. You can write moment of force directly, or resultant moment you can write here resultant moment, resultant means total, resultant moment of force is equal to, we can directly first write the formula F into D, perpendicular distance, and directly you can put the value 5 into 2, so 10 Newton meter. And direction you can check, direction is what direction? Clockwise, so both will be moving in the same direction. So that's why they are causing rotation in one direction only. So we'll be giving a sign positive here. Positive, if you give a positive sign, it's well and good, you may not write the direction, or if you write that sign as well as the direction, well and good. At least one of them you must write the direction. If they show the figure, you have to give the direction as well, then only you get the full marks, otherwise you get only partial marks. 1 mark may be deducted for it if the question is carrying 2 marks. So this is about the couple, turning effect of force. Boys, I have a question out here, one simple numerical problems based on the moment of force from your book, and this question came once in ICC some year back, and the question says a mechanic can open a nut by applying a force of 150 Newton while using a lever handle of 40 centimeter length. How long handle is required if he wants to open it by applying a force of only 50 Newton? So I'll just explain to you the question, what does it say, and you can find this question in a book or in the ICC question paper. So question says there is a nut and a wrench is there. There is a wrench to open it. The length of the wrench is 40 centimeter. And the mechanic is opening it by applying a force of 150 Newton. So he is giving a force of 150 Newton and opening the nut. Now he wants to open the same nut by applying a force of only 50 Newton. So that means nut is same. He wants to open the same nut but he wants to give a force of only 50 Newton. That means he is decreasing the force. That means the distance should, or the length of the range should be more or less, you can guess at first. Since force is becoming less, then the distance should be more. So that means he is going for a range of longer length, like this. The range must have a longer length, and we'll calculate that length. That's what they were asking. What should be the length of the range required? He wants to open the same nut, but by giving a force of 50 Newton, which is less than 150. From previous case, he wants to apply less force. That means he wants to give a force of only 50 Newton. So what should be the length required now? This length. So this length, let us take either D or X, anything you can write. So I'll write this as D. So you can write this is case 1, case 2. You can write here moment needed to turn the nut equal to force into distance. We write here 150 into 40 centimeters. So 40 upon 100. We are changing in meter because this is Newton. Newton goes nicely with meters. So we'll change it in meter. 1010 cancel here. 15 for the 60 Newton meter. So since the diagram we are drawing ourselves, so we may not have to give the direction, write the directions right now. So you can draw, or any direction. If you want to give the direction, you can give the direction here clockwise. So this was the case for no right for same knot we are opening by a different right. Again the same formula right here. Moment of force will be again same formula, F into perpendicular distance. Moment of force requirement is 60. We write same value 60, but force we are changing now. 50 here into D we are keeping, we have want to calculate. So 60 upon 50 will come in divide and cancel it. The D value will come 6 upon 5, the answer of which will come 1.2 meter. So you can from this example also you can learn the theory. Force is less, the distance is more. The first case the distance was 40 centimeter, that means 0.4 meter. Now the distance is 1.2 meter, more than that. So when the distance increases, the force decreases. So this is what happening here. So this problem came once in ICC. So I have just shown you the working of this. So this is done. Though the same problem we can do by the other methods also. There is another shortcut method as well for it. So first case, let us suppose the force was F1, the second case the force is F2. First case the distance I will take D1, second case distance is D2. We find the nut is same, the turning effect in both the cases has to be same to turn the nut. So we can directly equate the formula of moment of force in the first case and the second. We can directly F1 D1 is equal to F2 D2 directly. Putting the value of F1, the value of F1 is 150, D1 value is 40 centimeter, we are changing into meters by dividing it by 100. F2 is 50 here and D2 is unknown, we are calculating D2. So answer comes the same here. You can just check, for this will go by 3 times, 0, 0, 12 by 10, so 1.2 is the value of D2, therefore D2 value is 1.2 meter. At last we can conclude that therefore length of the wrench required is equal to 1.2 meters. So this also can be done because we are producing same turning effect, but by having two different kind of forces, that means the distance will change. We can directly equate and have the answer. So my dear students, today's lesson was this much. So tomorrow we will continue with the next topic of the same chapter.
Morning, children. As I had told you in the earlier class, today we will be doing the poem The Cold Within. However, before I start with the poem, I would like to give you a warning. This poem has got two versions. In the first version, all the 6 people in the poem are men. In the second version, out of the 6, 1 is a lady and the rest 5 are men. My dear children, please remember the second version of the poem is there in your syllabus. That means you will follow the text where the first person is a lady and the rest 5 are men. In some guidebooks and workbooks, all the 6 are referred to as men. Please ignore it. That version of the poem is not in your syllabus. You have the second version of the poem in your syllabus. Second, I come to the title of the poem, The Cold Within. What is the significance of the word cold in this poem? I will only explain it and discuss it when we come to the end of the poem. Please keep it on hold for the time being. Because unless and until you understand the poem, you won't understand what is the significance of the title of the poem, what is the meaning of the word cold in the poem. Next, I come to type of poem. When I was doing Daffodils, I told you it's a romantic poem, it's a nature poem. This poem, The Cold Within, is a parable, P-A-R-A-B-L-E. A parable is a short poem teaching us a moral lesson. So the poem The Cold Within is a parable. It is a short poem telling a story with a moral lesson. Now, when you look at the first stanza of the poem, there are certain words which have separate significances. Now look at the first stanza of the poem. 6 humans trapped by happenstance. Note the use of the word humans, not people. Humans. There is a reason why the word humans have been used and not people. Again, I will discuss its significance when we come towards the end of the poem, along with the title. Again, see the word trapped and happenstance. Please note, these 6 did not go out on a journey together. They met accidentally. That is why the word happenstance has been used. That means, by chance, these 6 were brought together. It was their fate, it was their destiny which had brought them together. Now look at the word trapped. These 6 did not want to be in such a situation. Obviously, nobody wants to be in such a situation where there is a risk of life. But there was no escape. These 6 had no escape from this situation. They were supposed to share the same end, that is death. Meaning, all 6 were supposed to die. It was their fate, it was their destiny. So, look at the first line again. 6 human beings were trapped by chance at a place where the weather or the climate was bleak and bitter cold. Meaning, it was very, very cold, it was extremely cold. My dear students, don't make a mistake. sometimes if the question is asked, where were these 6 people? You have a tendency to write, they were in a cave, they were in a jungle, they were in a forest. No place is mentioned in the poem. It's just said that they were trapped by chance at a particular place where the weather was bitterly or extremely cold. No place is mentioned. Please make a note of it. Now look at the next 2 lines. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. Each of the 6 was carrying a stick of wood. That is how the story went. What does it mean? The incident that is described in the poem was already there as a story. The poet is just presenting it in the form of a poem. Am I clear? It is not an invention or a creation of the poet. Now come to the second stanza. They are dying fire in need of logs. These 6 had lighted a fire in front of them in order to keep themselves warm from the bitter cold. However, the fire was dying because it was in need of fresh sticks or logs of wood. But the first one held hers back, for of the faces round the fire, she noticed one was black. The first person referred to in the second stanza is a white lady. I repeat, a white lady. This white lady was also carrying a stick of wood, but she did not sacrifice her stick of wood. She did not put that stick into the fire because when she looked around, she saw there was a black person in the group. So why didn't she give the stick of wood? Why didn't she sacrifice her stick of wood? Because she was racially prejudiced. She was a racist. She did not want to keep warm a black person. Are you clear? So the first thing that is highlighted in the poem through the character of the first lady is racism, racial prejudice, or racial discrimination. Now come to the third stanza. The next man, looking across the way, saw one not of his church. Remember, the second person in the group was also a white man. When he looked around, he saw that in the group there was a man who did not go to the same church where this second man used to go. Now remember, both were Christians, both went to the church, but they belonged to different strains or strands of Christianity. Just for example, one was probably a Roman Catholic, the second was a Protestant. Therefore, they went to different churches. So the second person thought, why should I sacrifice and give my log of wood or stick of wood to keep a man warm who belonged to a different church? And that is expressed in the last 2 lines of the third stanza. And could not bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. Please note one thing here. In all other cases, it is mentioned a stick of wood. In the case of this second person, the specific word birch has been used. In other words, the second person was carrying a stick or a twig from the birch tree. Birch is a kind of tree. He was carrying a twig or a stick or a branch of the birch tree. Actually, the bark or the twig of a birch tree burns very easily. Is it clear? So, in the third stanza, what do you see? It is the divisions within a religion. As I told you, both were Christians, but both believed in two strains of Christianity. And that is why the dislike. Now come to the fourth stanza. The third one sat in tattered clothes. The tattered or torn clothes indicate that this third person, who was also a white man, was poor. He gave his coat a hitch. He was wearing a torn coat. He was pulling the coat from all sides in order to keep himself warm. This man was also carrying a log of wood or a stick of wood. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? This third person, who was a poor man, did not give his stick of wood because when he looked around, he saw a rich man in the group. In the eyes of the poor man, the rich man was the oppressor and he was the oppressed. That is, the poor man believed that the rich people always ill-treat and mistreat and oppress the poor. The rich people make the poor work hard for them, and it is due to the hard work of the poor that the rich become richer. Rich people themselves don't do anything. They are lazy and idle. So, this poor man hated the rich, had a dislike for the rich, and therefore he did not want to give his stick of wood. Now come to the next stanza. The rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store. The next man, the fourth, was again a white man, but he was a rich man. This rich man was sitting by that fire and thinking about how much of wealth he had accumulated and stored, and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. The rich man was thinking that how can I keep my wealth safe from the hands of the poor? Because he believed that his wealth might be looted and plundered and taken away by the poor. The rich man hated the poor because in the eyes of the rich man, the poor were useless, worthless, lazy. They did not do any work, and because they did not do any work and were lazy, that is why they remained poor. So the white man also did not give his stick of wood, thinking, why should I sacrifice my stick of wood to keep a poor man warm? Now we come to the next stanza. The black man's face bespoke revenge. The fifth person in the group was a black man, and his face expressed the desire to take revenge. The black man wanted to take revenge on the whites. Why? This black man felt that, or believed that, for centuries they have been ill-treated, mistreated, oppressed, suppressed, humiliated by the whites. And today was his golden opportunity to take revenge on the whites. As the fire passed from his sight, imagine the fire that they had built in front of them was slowly dying. But even the black man did not sacrifice his stick of wood. For all he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. The black man thought that this was my golden opportunity, a chance to harm the whites, to take revenge on the whites for whatever the blacks had suffered in the hands of the whites in the past so many centuries. So the black also did not give his stick of wood. What do we see here? Here we see reverse racism. The blacks disliking the whites for the oppression and suppression that they had suffered in the hands of the whites for centuries. Now we come to the last man in the group. This last man in the group was also a white man. The last man of this forlorn group did not accept for gain, not meaning nothing. The last man in this group was a white man. He was greedy. He was selfish. He never did anything except for profit or gain. So he did not give his stick of wood, believing that he was not going to gain anything if he sacrificed his stick of wood. Giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. You know, this man who was greedy and selfish had a particular philosophy in life. His philosophy was, I will give only when I have the chance to get something in return. So he thought, what will I get if I sacrifice my stick of wood? Why should I sacrifice my stick of wood when nobody else in the group has sacrificed his or her stick of wood? So he also did not sacrifice his stick of wood. He was greedy, he was selfish. Now what happened? Since nobody sacrificed the stick of wood, the fire slowly died. And see what happened. Their logs held tight in death-still hands was proof of human sin. In these two lines, you have an irony. The figure of speech, irony. You know what? The sticks of wood that they were carrying could have saved their lives. But when they died due to the bitter cold, they still held on to those sticks of wood which actually and probably could have saved their lives. I will come to the word human sin. Just wait. So, despite having a chance to save themselves from the bitter cold, these six died still holding on to the sticks of wood. That's the irony. Those sticks could have probably saved their lives, but they did not sacrifice them. They did not die from the cold without. They died from the cold within. The point is, these six did not die from the cold weather outside. They could have probably saved themselves from the cold weather outside. They died because of the cold which was there within their hearts. Now comes the question, what is that cold within or inside their hearts? Now follow. All these six were in such a situation where what was their common enemy? The common enemy was cold, the bitter cold. Now, if they had faced the problem, if they had tackled the problem together by sacrificing their sticks of wood, they probably could have saved their lives. But they did not sacrifice their sticks of wood and paid with their lives. Now, why did they do so? It is because they were sinners. What did they have in them? They were envious of each other. They were greedy. They were jealous of each other. They disliked each other. They hated each other. Some had racist mentality. These negative qualities or beliefs in them did not allow them to sacrifice their sticks of wood to save each other's lives and thereby save his or her own life. These words, envy, greed, jealousy, dislike, hatred, racism, all these are the coldness that they had in their heart, which prevented them from sacrificing their sticks of wood. Now I come back to the word humans in the first stanza. I told you the poet deliberately uses the word humans instead of people. These 6 were human beings, but they did not behave like human beings. That is the irony. They, as human beings, should have been compassionate, should have been pitiful, should have been sympathetic, should have been caring towards each other. They should have shared the sticks of wood. They should have been concerned about each other. They should have been kind to each other. They should have been generous to each other. But they did not show any compassion, pity, sympathy, care, share, concern, kindness, or generosity. And because of the envy, the greed, the jealousy, the dislike, the hatred, and the racist prejudices, they did not sacrifice their sticks of wood, and therefore they paid with their lives. So, can we actually call them human beings? Again, the poet is presenting an irony. They are human beings, but they are not acting, behaving, or reacting like human beings. And the last two things, you will notice that in the second last stanza of the poem, you have this phrase, forlorn group. You know, forlorn means lonely. But group is when you have 2 or more people together. Now you have opposite words put together here. Forlorn group, a lonely group. 2 opposite words put together, you have a figure of speech called oxymoron. Even though these 6 were in a group, yet each one of them was lonely because each one had a reason to hate the other. So even though they were together, even though they were in a group, yet they were alone and lonely. So 2 opposite words, lonely and group, put together, giving us the figure of speech, the oxymoron. And the last thing, the symbolisms and the imageries in the poem. You see, the logs that the 6 were carrying stand for their sinful souls. The logs also stand for life. Now try to understand. They had the logs. If they had sacrificed their logs, they probably would have saved their lives, isn't it? But unfortunately, their souls were filled with sins, and therefore the same logs which could have saved their lives, they did not sacrifice because of the sins they had in their hearts. What are those sins? They did not give the logs of wood because of the envy, greed, jealousy, dislike, hatred, and the racist prejudices which they had in them. So, the logs of wood stand for life, because if they had sacrificed, that would have saved their lives. But they did not sacrifice because they also, the logs represent the sinful souls. Their sins did not allow them to sacrifice those logs of wood. And therefore, they died due to the bitterly cold weather outside. But ironically, had they sacrificed their logs of wood, they probably could have saved themselves from the cold weather outside. But it was the cold inside their hearts which took away their lives. So, my dear children, remember, basically the moral message, the theme or the central idea in the poem is represented by these words. They were envious of each other, they were greedy, they were selfish, they were jealous of each other, they disliked each other, they hated each other, they had racial prejudices, they had the mentality of hating each other because one was rich, the other was poor. The blacks disliked the whites hated the blacks. All these are the theme, the central idea, the moral or the message in the poem. My dear children, I hope I have been able to cover up as much of the poem as well as the technical aspects of the poem in this brief given time. Thank you. In the next class, we will take up the poem, The Heart of the Tree. Till then, stay home, stay safe, and start studying.